Welcome to Classical Chats. I'm Tiffany. I'm a classical pianist and also the host of this series where I talk to people who love classical music, anyone from professional musicians to everyday casual listeners, or even you. I'm also the founder of Together with Classical, which is a charity dedicated to supporting and promoting classical music, bringing everyone together in the shared passion for classical music. And we're very, very happy, we as in me and my charity team are very happy to be in partnership with Dreamstage. It's a very revolutionary, high-quality live streaming platform where I also just played a concert there a few days ago. So a huge thank you to Dreamstage for supporting Together with Classical's mission of offering opportunities for people to experience classical music. We are offering concert ticket giveaways. Make sure you check out the links in the description. If you are able to buy a ticket, please just buy a ticket to support artists. But if you're not able to, which is totally understandable, and that's why I really care about this charity, enter to win a ticket. Today, I don't want to say I'm starstruck because these are people that I've met, but they are also some of the best string players in the world. We've got the wonderful violinist Adele Anthony. We've got Eric Jacobsen, who is a conductor, a cellist, the director of the Nights, which is this really fun orchestra and just very creative. And we've also got Grammy Award-winning violinist Gil Shaham. These three wonderful musicians will be playing Brahms's Clarinet Quintet on Dreamstage, and I myself am really looking forward to hearing them because I heard them separately. Shall we?
Okay, let's start.
Hello. Hello. Welcome to Classical Chats. Yeah, I'm just very honored to have such amazing string players on this channel that is so new, and yeah, I'm just I don't want to say starstruck because I've met you kind of, but like very honored. So thank you. I just kind of want to get to know your journeys with classical music. How'd you start?
I just want to say I'm right back at you, starstruck and happy and very honored
You're too nice.
to be with everybody here.
Aw, thank you. How'd you
Well,
get to
Adele, after you.
Okay, well, I began very young at the age of 2.5. And
Yes.
my father is a violinist, and he said I used to follow him around the house with a brush and comb and imitate him. So,
Aw,
so
that's so cute.
we lived in Tasmania at the time, the island state of Australia. So they were just beginning the very first Suzuki group there with his colleague, and he mentioned to his friend I was doing that, so he said, why don't you bring her along to this Suzuki group I'm starting, and if she doesn't like it, it's fine. And so I guess I liked it. I stuck with it and grew up in Australia, and came here to Juilliard when I was 17 and stayed in New York ever since.
Tiffany, how did you get started with music?
Me? Oh, I'm so honored that you want to know my story. I started on a toy piano. I didn't come from a musical family, so the only music was through my dad's audiophile obsession system, and I heard all kinds of music from rock, pop, classical, and I had this toy piano that had 4 keys. I later found out just a few years ago that it's C, E, G, C, but I would try to imitate operas and try to trill on it. Who trills with a triad? I don't know, but I tried to trill with like 4 keys. So yeah, I was spending so much time on that toy piano to the point where my parents thought maybe I would like more keys and an actual piano, and so that's how it all started. And then I came to New York when I was 9, so been here ever since.
Wow. And did your family go with you when you were 9?
My mom did. My mom
Oh,
gave
yeah.
up her job actually, so it's very nice of her. She used to be a flight attendant.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah. How'd you start?
Erish?
No, Yilish.
How did I start? I do have memories similar to what you're describing of being, when I was 7 years old, we were living in Champaign-Urbana, Illinois, which happens to be the place of my birth. But we're an Israeli family that is from Jerusalem. And I guess, although I was born there, my childhood was in Jerusalem. And then we came back for sort of a year for my parents' studies and work. And the place we were staying had one of these electric organs down in the basement, And somehow we ended up spending a lot of time in the basement. And it wasn't all tornado season. I did love going down there and tinkering with that electric organ. And I guess the story that my parents say was that I asked to have violin lessons before we left. And my mom was against it. She said, beginners playing the violin sounds like, metal knives rubbing against the plate. They're kind of scraping fingernails on the chalkboard.
I call it dying chicken.
Something like that. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think she was hoping I would forget about it the following year when we came back to Jerusalem. And I guess I somehow remembered, and that's how I started. I was between 7 and 8, somewhere between 7 and 8 years old.
But you went from electric organ to
Yeah,
violin.
old timer. Old timer. Yeah, that's right.
You say electric organ to violin, Tiffany?
Right? Isn't that basically like the jump?
Exactly.
You had dreams of going back to electric organ?
Always.
Yeah.
Always. Yeah.
Never too late.
Yeah, you could plug your violin in. I mean, there might be a way we could find, and of course, right, the difference, I'm going to get so much hate mail for this, but the difference between a vacuum cleaner and a viola
Oh, no.
is, of course, you have to plug the vacuum cleaner in to suck.
Someone did ask us, because I mentioned, any questions for some of the best string players in the world, and they said, do you like viola? That came up. So.
Well, the viola is, of course, the king of all string instruments. And my joke, I love viola jokes and banjo jokes, but of course it is, you joke because it's the king, because it's actually the middle instrument that everyone played, whether it's Mozart or Dvorak, or in the case of the concert we're about to play, my brother, because we're doing this concert, it's Adele and Gil, myself and my brother and Anthony McGill, and we needed a violist, of course, to play the Brahms Quintet, and Colin plays a lot of viola. And my joke was that when we were growing up, when I was probably 10, he was 14, he would give me about 15 points lead when we were playing ping pong together, and we'd play until we were 21. That's how the ping pong used to be till 21. And sometimes I would be able to compete if he'd give me that much of a lead. And him playing violin and now having to play viola, now I could just barely be able to keep up with him, which is not even true. But a lover of the viola, and I think actually the cello and the viola in any situation in the chamber group are so connected. So I hope that I've now given enough of an asterisk to my viola joke to shovel my way out.
Well, Eric is being modest as usual. You sound so beautiful. And Colin sounds beautiful on viola. We knew him as a violinist until this year when we finally heard him play viola, and he rocks.
He's a beautiful.
Yeah, I saw the clip of all of you playing the quintet, and it sounds already so beautiful.
Had such a fun time together.
Wait, but Eric, we never got to hear how you started, just that you had the ping pong game.
Sure. Well, so my parents are both musicians. My dad's a violinist, played in the Met Opera for 30 years. And my mother was a flute player, and she played all around. She would always tell the story of, she would often play at the Met, as a substitute. And she'd always do the stage band. And she'd be sweating bullets because La Boheme always had this amazing stage band in the Zeffirelli set, and she'd always say that they were the shoes they had to wear were heels like this, and the steps that you would walk down across the stage were like this high and really, really narrow. And she was never scared to fall herself. She was scared to domino the entire marching band. And so, yeah, I grew up going to the Met a lot to see concerts and just to kind of run around backstage like a moron.
Wow, what's it like to be a kid and run around Met Opera? Like, did you just love opera? Not like a lot of kids actually like going to operas. So.
Well, I think it's just the immersion thing. It's like when you're around something and it becomes the norm, you start recognizing like the beauties and the irregularities and what is, what you could appreciate. It's kind of like feeding children like great food and different spices, and they get used to it, and hopefully they keep on loving it through life. I think that's kind of the thing. I played cello. At the age of 4, I guess. Supposedly, I wanted to play the violin like my brother, my 4-year-old brother, and my father. But because of whatever reasons, my parents felt like competition might be a thing. 2 boys, 4 years apart. You play the cello, and supposedly they convinced me to play the cello because it's bigger and more fun. And I don't remember any of this, but I buy the story. Like, sure, I feel like I would easily be persuaded in that direction. I'm also always been a little taller than my brother, so it felt appropriate. My brother, at a very young age, was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. Like, kind of like at age 7 was like, I want to be a violinist. And I think I didn't recognize that music was my path until maybe like 11, 12, 13. I went to a music camp called Greenwood, completely fell in love with like the community, like playing chamber music and gathering. I think it's the reason why I'm a conductor, because I love having parties and being around humans and like doing the thing.
Orchestra is a party.
Absolutely.
I guess.
And I will say, I remember 2 really, really great experiences. I remember hearing Adele playing Hartmann Concerto with the Sejong soloists. I can't remember exactly when it was, but I believe you were pregnant, and I went to the show right above Shun Li, and at that place, and just was like, oh my God, she's so good. And I've always wanted to play more with you, and I feel like even though we haven't been able to play much as humans together during this time, it's so nice to come back and get to do something that I've been looking forward to forever.
We're so lucky to play with you guys.
Come together. How did you all link? I mean, I guess it's a small world, but
it was actually through Tinder that we all decided.
No, it wasn't.
No, well, the truth is, Gil and the Knights have worked together now for, I don't know, 10 years or so. And I will say, I just said this recently, getting to work on and record Prokofiev Concerto and tour, and then a few years later getting to do the same with Beethoven and Brahms, absolutely have been a mentor and like someone that I've learned so much from. In that, I think the greatest thing that I've learned is the ability to be so confident yet so embracing of other people. And I think that's what a conductor should be, and any human probably should be. It's like, I know what I want, and yet I'm so open to everything that's around me. And I feel like we've only rehearsed once now, really nice big rehearsal with a quartet with Gil and Adele, and Colin and I have gotten together first, and then Anthony came and rehearsed with us. And I felt like that was the experience. It's like, we're all here together, haven't played in a room with other humans in such a long time, and it just feels so good.
Wow.
We played the first movement through, and I think we all, at the end of that run through, we all sort of felt like, that music is so moving itself, but also for us, somehow it was just so meaningful because we hadn't been in a room with other musicians and making music together, and especially chamber music. And I don't know, I was feeling kind of chills, and I think everybody, so at the end of that first movement, we just thought, this is so great, let's just keep playing, let's play again, let's play more.
Yes, I think you know, we rehearsed the quartet first, and it was great and so nice to be together. And then Anthony came later and kind of added the magic. It was like, you know, by the seventh bar, I literally had chills, you know. I just
that's so nice.
couldn't believe how beautiful this music is, and to be playing live and hearing, you know, musicians in the same room as you.
Right, yeah. It's gonna be strange because as a pianist, you know, everything I do is by myself. So I'm
But you know,
used
I
to
did.
being a loner. But I can imagine the chills that I would get eventually in a few days when I play with cellist. But yeah, I haven't been participating, or no one has asked me to participate in any of the Zoom adventures that I've seen. Have you? I mean, I know Eric, you have, but what's that like to transition from that Zoom world to the real world, I guess?
You mean like the box Zoom internet
the box that I keep
thing?
seeing you.
Right, exactly. Well, we had talked about it, right, Tiffany? Right after the Music Never Sleeps, we had talked about doing a trio with Colin.
But then it somehow never came to
We
me.
gotta do it.
I know.
You know,
Well,
one of those things.
let's see if our audience will want us to play together.
Good.
Count us in if you have room for violinists.
Oh, I mean, it would be such an honor if I get to play with you.
Right back at you, right? We'd
And
love
we're
it.
all in the same state, so at least there's that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Different boroughs, same state.
I was going to say before you mentioned the piano, I think string players, we're always so envious of pianists.
Really?
Because your guys' repertoire is so amazing.
Oh.
All that Chopin. I mean, you know, of course he did villainously write that cello piece, but he wrote nothing for violin. Nothing. We have nothing from Chopin. But maybe Brahms Clarinet Quintet makes up a little bit for that. A piece like that makes up a little bit for us.
Yeah, how did you choose that piece for Dreamstage?
Whose idea was it, Eric? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I feel like we all got on the phone maybe 2 months ago, and we're thinking, like, can't we do something together? And, you know, we also recognize that there's like safety things. Everyone has their level of like, can we be in a room for how long, and the windows open, da da da. And we just started talking about more things to do. So in the last year, Gil and the Knights recorded Beethoven and Brahms concerto, and then during the pandemic, Adele and Gil played the Bach double, and Colin and I did the other orchestra parts. And then we started doing these fun arrangements by your friend Julian, right?
Yes.
And then we're like, what else should we do? And then this idea of doing something on Dreamstage came in. And I don't know, I think Anthony McGill is like one of those artists that you just always are thinking about, oh, how can we end up doing something with him? Because he's so great. And Brahms Clarinet Quintet it's a musician's piece. I mean, of course, it's an audience's piece too, but it's that thing, like the first couple notes happen, and as you just said, you know, within 7 bars, you're like, ugh, and you get swept away in it. So I feel like it was such a clear idea, like, oh, Anthony would be so great, and he was in, and we were so happy.
Oh. Well, I can't wait to hear how everything's going to come together. Can you offer some tips for aspiring violinists and cellists?
Oh, you know, I think you just gotta love this. You gotta love what you're doing. You never know what the future will look like. I mean, this has been an amazing time because, you know, suddenly as musicians, we don't really know what we'll be doing next week, you know, or, you know, tomorrow. And that's always true for musicians. You never know what your life will be like, and you just gotta love being a musician. You gotta love the music. You gotta love the process. I don't know, something like that. How is that? Is that something?
Oh, how is that? I mean, I mean, you have the experience to really give tips. People ask me for tips all the time. I just don't think I have the experience or the caliber to even answer that question. So by all means, go on.
No, I don't know. It's just yeah, I guess as long as we're here, we try to enjoy it.
Yeah, I do feel like what you said that's it, right? If you have to enjoy it, you know, if if you have that thing where you know you can have fun and be a part of the life. I think it's so important to then say, okay, I'm going to do this. But it is true. The last 6 months is a real like new thing for so many musicians, and obviously there are people that are suffering so hard, and we don't know where the arts are going to be in a little bit in America or anywhere. But it's what are we going to do to create a world where, of course, it has to continue. Anyway, I think Gil, that's like the Schenker analysis to advice, which is have fun, do it. Like if you have to, if you really want to have a great time, you got to do it. And then of course comes all the hard things.
Yeah, and I think a lot of, at least, especially for the younger ones, they think, I don't know if I should do it. I don't know, should I do it or not do it? I kind of want to play, but I kind of don't know if I should be sure. So that's why this question comes up a lot, if there's any tips for people who aspire to be a great musician one day. But actually, did you have a moment when you knew that you wanted to do your profession for the rest of your life, like play music for the rest of your life?
I mean, I always grew up, just playing the violin, and just kind of it just grew into that was my life,
So it was
and
just like breathing for you.
yeah, and then when I finished high school, I came to Juilliard, and it was just kind of a natural progression from there, but that's different for everybody.
I do think, I feel like it's been so inspiring, and I feel like I learned so much from the Jacobsen genius, which is that they've got such a broad view and such an incredible education in music, So of course you guys wear so many hats. Eric is cellist, and Eric is chamber musician, but also Eric is conductor, and Eric as music videographer, and so many different inspirations. And also the musical language that you speak is so much broader than just classical. But even within classical, you have no hesitation about approaching so many different things. And I guess I wanted to ask you, Tiffany. So how do you feel about it? So you say you don't know, did you ever come to a point when you thought, oh, maybe I should do something else? You said your family were not musicians.
Yeah.
And why do you continue playing?
I don't know what it is exactly. I never had that moment where I said to myself, okay, I will do this for the rest of my life. I remember vaguely over tea, like a very sophisticated 6-year-old with my dad at some point. Like, I think it was because I was auditioning for Juilliard, and I think we were talking about that maybe, and I think the topic of, are you going to commit to this? Are you going to practice and really commit to being a pianist? And I guess I said yes. I don't know if at the time as a 6-year-old I thought this is what it means. I mean, I now have become so many other things aside from just playing the piano, and it's been a very amazing journey, and now I get to also have these very inspiring experiences that I never thought I would be having. So I don't know, it just kind of, I guess, naturally just became the way it is. I hope I will keep on climbing and getting to know more people, and yeah, I don't know, somehow it just happens.
I guess I remember Maestro Loren Mazel saying, and he must have been in his 70s at the time, and he said, Gil, you'll see. The longer you do music, the more you enjoy it. And
yes, that's very
I guess,
true.
now I'm pushing 100, and
And I'm 10.
but I feel like maybe I'm starting to understand what he meant. It is true. You do really enjoy it more and more.
Yeah, I think, because I don't think even when I was 15, 16, I don't think I even really understood how much music can just be so much more than playing until I was probably like closer to 20. I think when I really started to perform and really get that energy with playing other great musicians, and then really starting to grow as a musician, that I really understood how much love there is, much more to learn in music, and yeah, it's just become my life.
It sounds so similar to the advice that my father told me, which of course I wanted to not convince him. I didn't want to let him know that it was right. But when I was 10 or something, the reason to practice was the better you get, the more fun you're going to have. Like the more you have, the more tools you have, the more activities that you could possibly do on the instrument and musically and imagine, the more fun you're going to have. And it's, of course, it's so true. It's so true. And yet sometimes I am jealous of the human who has never heard a late Beethoven quartet. Like the idea of opening the door to a world of sound that you've never heard. There's something about being greener, like, oh my God, that art that you've never heard. But I actually think the more you listen to something, the more you embrace something, the better you get at listening, if you're not necessarily an instrumentalist, or as an instrumentalist, the more you practice, the more you understand the thing, the more exciting and more joy you get out of it. So it sounds exactly like Mazel's comment in another way.
But I have to say, now I have that opening of the Brahms stuck in my head. And I think, you know, they always say his music is autobiographical, and it's very relevant to the topic at hand. You know, if I remember, and I'm probably wrong, people please correct me, but I think the story was after he wrote Opus 111, the string quintet, he was very public about it. He said, that is my final work. I will not compose anymore. And that was his parting from music, you know. And then he heard the clarinetist Murlfeld, and he was so inspired by the sound of the clarinet and by Murlfeld's playing, and then suddenly he felt the urge to write this inspiration, this amazing inspiration that drove him back into music. And that's so similar to that opening, right? That opening starts with this duet, the two violins playing, and it's, you think it's in D major, you know, and it's so beautiful and idyllic, and it holds that high third, you know, and then in the second bar it sort of drops a little bit, and then this kind of stormy syncopations in viola and cello come in, and then by the fourth bar it's really quite a sinister sound, and you realize everything hasn't been in D major, it's all been in B minor, you know, it's all been in B minor. And then the clarinet comes in, and it has this amazing arpeggiation where it goes up 2 octaves and reclaims that high note, you know, very similar to this feeling that we're talking about, right? Like, you know, I don't know. Yeah, I just can't get this music out of me.
You're very good at explaining music in a very animated and like very picturesque way. That was very, I mean, I don't know the music as well as you do, but just like hearing your explanation of it, I can already envision the whole piece and what your performances will be like. So thank you. I have to, I mean, it's not a it's not a surprise because you have become a professor, right, at Bard College. So
we haven't started yet.
We've just become so grown up. A couple of weeks ago we became so grown up, right?
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah, we accepted teaching positions at the amazing Bard College.
Yeah.
And
we're looking
to live
forward.
there on that campus. I mean, I only went to the Fisher Center. But
Is that where you did your Dreamstage performance?
yeah.
That's where we did ours
Yeah,
too.
I know.
That was our first trip too.
Yes.
It's
really?
Such a special place, right?
Yeah.
There is a New York Times recipe of garlic, anchovy, lemon chicken that I'm supposed to be cooking in about 15 minutes. And I mean, we could go to it. I could turn the computer around and I could show you, you know, how I'm gonna deglaze the pan.
No, I mean, we've like spent, I don't know, 12 hours together in those live stream hosts.
So beautifully, yes. And that was one of my favorite things. I'm so glad we had that together so that we could actually.
You guys are both so
amazing at it.
so good at it.
Natural hosts.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you so much for your time. all three of you. It's a pity that Anthony can't join us, but I look forward to listening to your performance.
Thank you,
So-
Tiffany.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you guys soon.
Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow.
It was so nice to meet you, Tiffany, and brava for everything.
Yeah, bravo.
Keep it up.
They're such nice and friendly people. I could talk to them for hours. Very grateful for this opportunity to talk to them, and I hope you've enjoyed our chat. Can't believe it's only episode 4, and I just got to talk to some of the best string players in the world. So a huge thank you all for joining me here, supporting, subscribing. Really appreciate it. This is just surreal that I am able to bring these amazing artists on here and give you a chance to get to know them as people. Thank you, Dreamstage. Thank you all for subscribing. Don't forget to subscribe if you want more episodes like this, where I can keep on inviting all kinds of people who love classical music to share their stories. See you soon.